Good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. Hi. I think before we do anything today, let's just take 3 really nice, long, deep belly breaths. Just to come into the room, just to be present. When you're ready, inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Big inhale. And exhale. Just kind of punctuates where we were to where we are. It brings us into this space right now. And that's important in order to nudge the relaxation response. It takes us just to a different space mentally, physiologically. So today, I wanted to talk about identifying with the word cancer and how on my journey of having it a couple of times, I've never taken ownership of it through calling it mine. It's something that we have, but it's not who we are. When I found my first breast lump, I had to name it something in order to not be frightened of it every time I had a shower. So this was like when I found it and between going for diagnosis. And so I named it Pingu, because that just kind of made it quite jokey and lighthearted. And it's amazing the power of speech, what we say, because it kind of identifies us as who we are. And cancer was something like, the word was just intense. I never told my kids about it the first time because they were tots, they were tiny. Delilah was 2 and Isaac was 7. So they were just all 3 small little people. Eva was in the middle, by the way. And it wasn't because of me having cancer. It was more because if they said, oh, my mum's got cancer, then it would be people's reaction that I was worried about for them. And so I never mentioned it. I just said, Mummy's not feeling great. But actually, what I remember being handed this booklet, and it was for children. It was like a storybook for children, because I said to my breast care nurse, how do I tell my children? And so she gave me this storybook, and it had a picture, or it had pictures running through it of the mother going through like medical treatments and losing her hair and being sat on the sofa while Dad makes dinner and she reads stories to the kids. And it was like, well, that's not going to work, is it? For a start, I don't have a partner. Like, I just left their dad. And 2, I don't even want chemotherapy. And so for me, it was like, okay, so what I'm going to do is show my kids how healthy I can become. And that's that's how it kind of evolved in my head. It was not about illness, it was always about wellness. And so my life has become about wellness. Because when you identify with an illness, you're kind of solidifying it in your psyche. Whereas if you can identify with wellness, that's the message you're putting out to the universe. And so in my head, I created like this image of cancer being just cells that have gone rogue, which is essentially what it is. And they've gone rogue because there's some kind of disharmony, if that is a word. And so I had to find out where that disharmony lay. And that meant uncovering every single element of my life. Like there was no stone left unturned. Because I knew the answers lie within me. The first time I wanted to kind of freestyle this whole cancer malarkey. But my breast care surgeon was like, look, it's better because you've got kids that you have the surgery. Once you've done that, do your own thing. And so I thought, okay, maybe she's right. Maybe I'm just trying to take on something that's too big right now. And maybe I just need to surrender and let someone else take care of me for a while. And so I did. I sort of went kicking and screaming, I do have to say. I did ask for more time. And so my treatment, the surgery to remove the lump was, I think, 3 or 6 weeks past the date that they actually wanted to do it, because it had to feel like the right time to me. I'm very good at making my needs known to the medical profession because I've lived in my body my entire life. I know it better than anybody. And all of my life I've been kind of really trying to tune into what it's trying to tell me. I think actually only now I'm really properly understanding that, and that's by slowing down, like completely slowing down and tuning into it, rather than waiting for the pain or the illness. Now I check in when I don't have those things. But at the time, back in 2014, you know, my kids were so young, and so I went and I had the surgery. And my body actually really didn't like that surgery, so it kind of had a hematoma, which meant I had to go straight back down to surgery again, well, about 6 hours after, in order to see what was happening. And it took me a while to recover from that. So I really think my body was just like wanting me to do my own thing, but at the time, mentally, I just wasn't in the right place. So when cancer struck again, 5 years later, gosh, I couldn't work out what was it that I had done so wrong to create this again. And then, you know, I thought it must be a blip. It can't be right. I've been eating well. I've been meditating. I've been looking after myself. But actually, I hadn't been really doing any of those things. And ultimately, I'd been neglecting me and putting other people first again and not connecting. And so this time, I had to do it properly because it was metastatic and there was, short of like a chemotherapy, there was nothing really that they could do. And I didn't want the chemo, so I chose to do it my way, and I chose a team of people that would support me, like in the medical profession, and all my friends and family were on board. And it was just a really different experience, I think, because I'd spent so much time learning about cancer that I had more confidence of how to sort of self-treat and more belief that I could do it. And so it became a real unveiling of who I was and what I really wanted from life. And it taught me a whole new way of being, a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of handling stress. And so the disharmony that had created it had started to lose its power, and I was creating more harmony, more coherence between heart and mind, like the body-mind. I was more inclusive of what am I feeling in my body right now when something happens to me, when something triggers me. What is it that I feel? And you have to go through so many different phases in order to get well. And there's no one size fits all. And I wish there were. I really wish there were. But for me, I just used it as an opportunity to really get to know who I am and what it is that I want and need in life. And it's taught me that in spades, you know. I've given myself the time and space to actually investigate who I am and what makes me happy in life and what I need to be doing more of and what I need to be doing less of. Because we're all individual. We need to look at ourselves than looking to others for the answers. Because the others have got examples of what they did. But ultimately, we have the answer within us. And my voice, that voice of wisdom, would come through in spades. Like I went to a meditation, like a local Buddhist meditation evening when I was first diagnosed in my body, my mind. You know, that voice, that wisdom was just like, you need more of this, Charlene. And so I booked on a retreat. And in that time, the lump shrank. And it was amazing. It was like, this is what I need. When I first found the lump this time, I went straight on like a juice and vegetable fast. And any inflammation that I'd had in my body was starting to really disappear. It was like, okay, this is what I need to do. The answers really come through loud and clear if we can just relax enough to stop that chatter, that consistent chatter that judges us, tells us that we can't do it that way. You know, it's our wisdom, it's our intuition that knows our personal prescription. Nothing and no one else does. And it is a case of trial and error. But I found that to be really kind of good fun in many ways, because you get to try things that you wouldn't normally. Because if you've got like a death sentence, it's like, well, I need to give this a go. Whereas if you're just living life and taking it for granted, oh, I do that next week. So it becomes a very different time scale that you're living by. And so you try things, and there is always a bodily sensation with that. Your body's always trying to tell you what that brings up in it. And so the body-mind is a cohesion between those two systems, rather than isolating the body from the mind, which we so often do, because the body becomes it gets in the way. Hence the need for pain relief and things like that, because with pain relief, we can carry on doing the things that our body is yelling at us to stop doing. because it becomes less of an issue, less of a problem. And so we have all these addictions because so many people are trying to reduce pain in order to carry on in the rat race. Whereas I think illness is about slowing us down and getting us back in touch with what it is we really want from life, what it is life is calling for us to do. And if you can treat illness that way, then it brings infinite joy because it aligns you. It certainly aligned me with what it is I need to be doing, what it is I really want to be doing, what I'm passionate about doing in life. And any disease is reversible. Not in the medical profession, because, you know, there are limitations. But it's been proven time and time again with spontaneous remissions that we have this power. And I always feel sad when doctors feel it's necessary to give someone a timeline, because that timeline then limits what that person thinks they have capability of. And if it were me, I would, well, give them every hope, you know, because hope is what will get us through. That belief that you can do it, because somewhere there's a voice. For me, there was a voice leading me on saying, Charlene, you've got this. You can do this. And when I look back, I feel like that voice was me now, holding my own hand, guiding myself, saying, Charlene, you've done this. You know, you've got it. You've healed. And once you can create that vision in your mind of you having healed, then just keep replaying it on a loop. Keep generating those feelings of elation when you get that phone call that says, there is no disease visible in your body. Because that feeling is incredible and it's accessible to anyone. But you have to create the belief that you can do it. And that just comes from repetition and picturing yourself having done it. And listening to things that inspire you every single day, every moment of every day. I had Radical Remission, the audiobook playing, because there were elements in each person's story that aligned with mine. And it was like, I can do this. They did it, I can do it. Now I did it and you can do it. And find a mantra, something that really motivates you. Just something simple. You know, I think for me it was like, my body is healed. It was, it's that simple. But when doubts start creeping in, just start using that. Just start repeating it. Because you're sending the message to your body that you are healed. Don't mention things like, I don't have cancer, because the word cancer is coming up, and it is this identification. So what we're looking at is, I have health. My body has healed. Because that's going to be your truth. Just keep moving forward. Just keep listening to that voice of wisdom that keeps spurring you on. And for me, sitting here drawing has been something that really just takes me into the moment, takes me out of that critical thinking brain, and puts me in a space of expansiveness. And when something really bad happens, you know, when I get those feelings of real fear, then I can just sit and draw those shapes, make those marks on the paper, and get them out of my head, and get back to a space where I feel much more aligned. And so today, make your mantra something that inspires you and makes you want to keep putting one foot in front of the other in order to get well. Because our bodies are designed in such a way that miracles can happen and do happen. Release the resistance and just bring more cohesion, because that's where the healing is. The path of least resistance. That was my mantra. I used it when I wanted things like a chocolate brownie. Charlene, what's going to be the path of least resistance? Not having this brownie and having to cook something, or having this brownie and actually enjoying it? I'm quite a rebel. Don't really do what's prescribed, and that's why I have to listen to my wisdom, because I kind of freestyle everything. But that's okay. That's my way of doing things. That's where my safety lies, is in listening to myself, you know, to that wisdom that guides me. I don't go too far off course, but far enough that I feel like I'm making it my own. Have a really, really lovely day, evening, night, wherever you are. Okay, lots of love.